Wishes channel magic into action. But if there's leftover magic that didn't get used by the wish, then it can be leached? Yes, that's it. The leftovers leach into what's around when the wish is made. That leftover magic is much easier to manipulate. So you think the memory loss could be caused by excess magic that's leached into Fresne? Martin asked slowly. Why memory loss specifically, though? August shrugged. We'll figure it out. With this new information, magically tainted places or items make sense. Maybe a wish was granted here ages ago, and that's why the letter didn't mention it. Wouldn't we notice magical items? Oliver asked. I can't even think of anyone in Fresno who's ever seen magic. Would they stand out? They wouldn't actually, said Martin. Magic doesn't glow or have a distinct look. It's simply there. Glass holds it quite well. Metal and gems too. Living things like plants or even wood don't. Like if your father was granted a wish and your mother was next to him, all the magic the fairy summons isn't used up, so some might leach into the buckle on his belt or her locket, August said. Her locket. It was perfect for that. The rings, too, and the flowers Monsieur Alud had used were made of glass. Henry's cane was wood, but the wolf head grip was metal. The gloves didn't make sense, though. They were leather. Still, though, this was at least something they could pursue, even if it proved to be a dead end. Natalie might have sold or reworked a leached object accidentally and spread the magic around. He was about to ask if Martin still had the gloves on him when a hand touched his shoulder. I see you have found my wayward son. The three of them looked up from the table, and Oliver winced. Madame Monet was standing next to the table, shaking her head at her son. Her locket flickered as she moved. Sorry, mumbled Oliver. He's been very helpful, said Martin. He's supposed to be studying for the university entrance exams, she said, fiddling with her necklace. I suppose I cannot fault him for helping you. Martin seemed surprised by this information, and Oliver's cheeks reddened. August was impressed. It was difficult to get accepted into university. Oliver must have been modest about his accomplishments. This is going to sound silly, but your locket, August said, and pointed to where she was twisting the chain. Have you found that having a physical reminder of your husband helps? It's helped, but I think only in the emotional sense, she said slowly, dropping it back to her chest. It's proof he does love me, and that no one is lying about that. Oliver made a choking sound, and his mother rolled her eyes. Yes, you're proof as well, and trustworthy, my little capritillo, she said. My point is, I don't think it's helped me regain any memories, as I still have none. Well, I imagine Natalie would be happy to make keepsakes for people if necessary, said Oliver, tapping the wooden brooch holding a fresh rose to his shirt. She made this brooch out of one of my grandfather's old harps. Mother gave her the harp, and she had this done in 2 weeks. That's what most people do. They bring in old things that don't work anymore and have her fix them up. She's nice. She used to travel almost exclusively, but her mentor got mixed up in something illegal, apparently, so she settled in Fresno with barely anything. Cut some deal on rent with the building's owner, said Oliver, shrugging. I imagine Natalie is still paying them back. Why did she settle in Fresno? August asked. The great-aunt who raised her is buried here. She used to visit that memorial every morning until she got too busy around the shop a few years ago, said Madame Monet. I would see her walking that way when I went to the Tremaine estate. The Tremaine estate? It definitely belonged to Ella. She continues to threaten to fire me, muttered Oliver, pouting. His mother clucked her tongue. To be fair, she did agree to pay me for teaching them music, not you. Though she has fired everyone save for Ella. I didn't meet Lady Tremaine until after her late husband passed, but I imagine that was quite the blow, emotionally and financially. I've been trying to convince Ella to take a job elsewhere. She's wasted as a scullery maid. You know Ella, though, said Oliver, and it was clear he was frustrated. She refuses to leave Lady Tremaine's service and won't tell me why. She won't even really talk about it anymore since I've been going over there. Dear, you cannot fault her for not wanting to discuss her life. You were hardly friends until recently. Madame Monet said. The girl doesn't really talk to anyone in town, so far as I can tell, and to be honest, for the longest time, I thought she was Drizella and Anastasia's older sister. August twisted his hands together, his vision tunneling to a single point as rage flooded his body. Scullery maid. No relation. Oliver huffed, glanced at his mother, and dropped his voice as if Ella or Lady Tremaine would hear them. She asked me not to say anything about it to anyone, but you visited her there today, right? She does everything. Cooking, cleaning, upkeep for the estate, and tailoring all of their clothes. They're running her ragged. I mean, they used to have a cook at least, but they fired her too. Ella's the only one they haven't gotten rid of. They can't get rid of Ella. Why would... August rubbed his face and tried to decide if he should say more. Ella definitely didn't want him to know this, and for some reason, Oliver and his mother had no idea that Ella was Lady Tremaine's stepdaughter. Monsieur Bickert, Monsieur Alud, and Blanche all knew who Ella was, though. But if they didn't know what was going on in the house, then would they assume she was simply taking care of her own estate? They had no reason to visit it or gossip about Ella. But if she was asking people not to talk and hiding things, then something worse was going on than her taking extra work. Poor girl never stops to talk much these days, Madame Monet said. Niceties, yes. But if you ask her about anything, she's off. I'm glad she's been spending time with you. August had to talk to her and find out what was really happening. Martin fiddled with his watch, and August caught a glimpse of the time. Natalie's shop should be open by now. Excuse me, he said, and rose. I have a meeting, but Martin can stay. I'll be back shortly. Investigation first, then he could talk to Ella.